Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, guys. Just inviting a few people. Here is Josh. Straight away. Hey, man.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
I hope this is set up the right way.
It is. It's perfect. The sound and the image is perfect.
Good.
Yes. Hey, man. You all right?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
All right. So that's it. That's it. So let's just some people arrive here. We have 6 so far. Let me invite a few more. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Okay, bro,
Perfect.
that's perfect. So let's start this. Josh, it's an honor to have you here, finally, to talk with you.
Thank you.
So I follow your work for a long time since you had the positive trumpet worldwide. So on the group, and of course because of the Uber mutes, the Robinson remedies, which I'm an endorser and you are as well. So that this is amazing, and what you are doing online, I think is, I don't know, it has no price. The videos you do, the reviews you do, and that's really important for the community, and that's what this is all about, is to share and to share information and to learn. I learn a lot with you, and I will learn today. So can you tell us a bit about you, where you come from, why is your last name so weird for an American, where it come from?
Thank you. Well, I appreciate all of that and the introduction. So originally I'm from Akron, Ohio, from Northeast Ohio, just outside of Cleveland.
Yes.
I live in Chicago and I've been here, I don't know, maybe 8 years. So my last name, Rzepka, is Polish. And
Oh, right. That's why.
no one says it in Polish, but if you're going to say it in Polish, it's Rzepka. But
Rzepka.
when my no one says that, but when my grandfather and his, my grandparents, when they came to the United States, then it became Rzepka.
All
Um,
right. Okay. So that's good. I don't know if you know, probably you do. Here in England, the Polish community is huge. Is almost as the British. So where I live, most of jazz musicians are Polish. That's why yeah. So I did that question. I asked you exactly because of that. So can you tell us where you did start? We know now, so your ancestors are Polish, but how did you start on the music? Who influenced you? Did you have other musicians in the family already? How did that come to life?
so there's no professional musicians that were in my immediate family. I started playing trumpet in the fourth grade. In my grade school, we were required to play something. We had to be in the band because I was in a small school, and if everyone wasn't in the band, there wasn't going to be a band. There wasn't enough. So I remember the first day in the art room, they put on the tables all the instruments, and we went around and picked them up and played. But the trumpet, I picked it up, and
That's it.
something came out, and they said, "There you go. You're going to take that and work with that." So from a young age, though, I did have great support from my band directors and then from my parents, from my mom and my dad. They both were taking me to lessons, and my dad, he was buying me CDs. So when you're asking about influences, the
Yes.
the first CDs I had, first recordings, Dizzy Gillespie,
All
and
right.
so the first recordings he gave me was Dizzy Gillespie, and then um, I started listening to those, and then he started getting me some more CDs. He got me Maynard Ferguson and Arturo Sandoval, just the big names he was able to find. He was getting me CDs, and I'm listening to them, and it's inspiring me to practice at a young age. But then, really, a couple of the biggest influences for me, definitely Wynton Marsalis, because that's when I first really took music seriously. I remember in 11th grade, the first time that I heard Wynton, his recording Carnival, the album.
So the beginning of Winton as well. We are talking about the old Winton.
Yes, yes. So the old Wynton, when he was still playing classical music. And I remember listening to this and thinking like, holy cow, like,
Yeah.
no idea. I didn't even know what was double tonguing or triple tonguing. I had no idea. And then I heard it, and I'm like, oh, I want to play that. So I brought it to my teacher, and I said, I want to play the Carnival of Venice. And he says, okay, well, get your Arbin book out, and you're going to practice this very slowly, you know, two, until I can learn it. And, you know, after a couple months, I was practicing 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was practicing a lot every single day in 11th grade, and my playing went from here to here.
Exactly.
And I learned the Carnival of Venice, and I performed it. And after that, everything was different because, you know, I was playing first chair and in school and in bands, and I got invited to participate in different bands. And that's when I really saw music and said, oh, wow, if I'm real serious about this, I can do something with it. And that's, you know, that led me then to apply for music school.
Well, yeah. Well, so you are talking about playing Carnival of Venice on the 11th grade.
11th grade, yeah.
Man, that's a big jump. If we see the average people doesn't play it, but the average people who plays it is much later than that.
And that was the first solo that I ever played at a competition.
Exactly. Wow, that's awesome.
The solo and ensemble they call here, where you know locally they have you know, you pick from the list and you perform for the judges, and my whole room was filled with people. And
I can imagine, bro. But yeah, it's definitely, if you can play that, you can play almost anything, and it leads you it leads me to another question, which is I like about you, and I had the other Josh Kaufman 2 weeks ago here, which is a great player as well, and he's really versatile. And I think the same about you, but he is more for the big one than you are. I feel you a bit more for the classical, but you both can do anything perfectly. Where do you connect both styles, or which is your biggest love? Because sometimes we prefer more one because it's more work there, but it doesn't mean we love it more. What's your biggest love?
Well, after playing with so many groups, so many different styles for all these years, I really just got to say, if you're playing good music with good musicians, then I don't care about the style.
Exactly.
It can be rock and roll, it can be Baroque, it can be bebop. It really, you know, it can be anything as long as it's good musicians and good music. Because, you know, a lot of people they say, wow, you're playing jazz, you're playing classical, but think about, you know, you look at it and say, oh, that's such a big difference. But is it as big of a difference as playing, you know, let's say, you know, Mozart to Mahler to Stravinsky to Varese?
Well,
Like, if you're going, you know, Bach, if you're going from century to century and decade to decade, the differences between sound concept, articulation, phrasing within classical music, you know, even it's from Stravinsky to Gershwin with his classical works, like it's such a wide range. So I think that people, you know, a lot of people, they think that jazz is so much different and so far away. But I think it's maybe more accessible. They're probably most afraid about the improvisation.
Yes, and we're gonna go there later. So, sorry, Josh, we have one of the best players in my country as well, which I identify a lot with you. I said the same to the other Josh because the guy is really versatile. Is Daniel Louro. He's the teacher of the National Conservatoire in Lisbon. Great trumpeter. And I think he belongs to one of the jazz festivals in Portugal. with his brass quintet. They organize a jazz festival in Portugal, or a brass festival. So maybe you can get in touch in the future. That will be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. So about improvisation, and this is exactly, I was scared in the beginning, and now my mostly of what I do is recording sessions and jazz. But for example, and I will say this, I'm not a great improviser, but it doesn't mean that I can't work, because there is a lot we can still do. Big band style, I do a lot. Where can we start? Where is the starting point? If now, as a teacher, because I know you teach, and this is really important, where should you tell a guy like me, for example, that plays but he can't improvise? Where should we start practicing? How?
Well, there's a couple different starting points, and it depends on the student and what their personal strengths are. You know, because some people like to approach it from a theoretical understanding, and then they learn how to develop the other parts. Some people, they've got an incredible ear and they can transcribe, and then once they've transcribed, you can have them analyze and look at it and say, here's what's happening theoretically, and this is why it works. But at the end of the day, if we want to be able to improvise, we need to be able to hear in our mind. We have to hear in our mind with a clarity musical ideas. So a great starting point is you take a song that you like, that you love, or something easy, a blues, and you listen to it and you sing along. And then you try and sing a solo, you know, and then you translate to the trumpet. So you pick up the trumpet, you know, right? So that you can sing something, you can hear it, you can sing it and vocalize it, and then you can play it. Because we can't play anything that we can't hear.
Yes,
that's
great.
Play anything that we can't hear. At least nothing good. Like we can't, you know, we have to hear what we want to play. So you need to develop that, you know, and through repetition. And that's why transcribing is so great, because you're listening and you're, you know, connecting the dots in your mind with this is what I hear versus, you know, the intervals and the phrasing and the rhythms. So, you know, those are two big things. But really, you know, one point that I really drive home for so many students with regards to improvisation is rhythm and thinking rhythmically. I remember an interview that I heard Dizzy Gillespie years ago, and Dizzy Gillespie, he said something along the lines of, you know, when I'm playing, I like to think about the rhythm, and then I put the notes onto it.
Well, yes.
And that was such an interesting concept, because so many people, they think, you know, they see a chord, they see, you know, a certain, you know, chord changes, a certain sequence, and immediately they start thinking, oh, what notes, what scale, what key, and they're thinking about the notes independent of what the rhythm is. So if we think, we have to train ourselves with rhythm. And what I demonstrate for my students is playing through a chorus of the blues, but 2 times. And the first time I play all the wrong notes, you know, wrong notes, but with really good time, really good rhythm, solid swinging. And then I play a second chorus and I play all the right notes, but really bad time. It doesn't groove, doesn't swing.
Exactly.
And every single time they're going to say, oh, the one that they could feel, that they could swing, it grooved.
First one.
Solo, even if it's the wrong notes. And that,
yes.
and that gives students something that they can really grab onto. You know, it's something that they can understand and say, okay, I'm going to feel confident, because even if I hit the wrong note, I know that it can still sound good.
Yes.
And they can start getting into improvising, and they can start, you know, thinking melodically and thinking rhythmically. So those are kind of the starting points that I really, you know, of course it varies every single student, but but that's for beginners where you know
Yes.
the thought process is for improvisation.
That's really really good, and it makes a lot of sense. And sometimes we just need to hear someone saying that, even professionals like us, because it unlocks what you are saying. The rhythm is what makes the solo groovy. And how many times we hear guys playing just the same two notes but groovy, and that's it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Roy Hargrove used to do a lot of that, just with the same 2-3 notes, and that's it. And that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It helps.
There was a different interview that I saw with Dizzy where he was talking about one time that he played with Louis Armstrong, and he said, I played my solo, and you know, I thought it was, you know, hot stuff, or you know, whatever it was, and then I put my horn down, and then Louis Armstrong just goes, you know,
Yeah.
what? He was like, he said more in that one note, you know, than the whole chorus I did, you know, every single. And there's just so much to it, you know, the intentionality and really, you know, using all the tools. It's, you know, instead of just thinking harmonically, you know, it's rhythmically thinking musically.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing I say a lot in this channel, is some people, and I admire a lot the technical, but they play too many notes, but you don't feel music on that. It's just notes, 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 and that's why some people, when we say, oh, we play jazz, people get straight away, I don't like jazz. Jazz is not just that. It's not just notes, notes, notes. There are a lot of music on it, and sometimes one note, as you say, can do it all in it. Josh, one of the things that I love to read about you, and I think it was on your bio, I'm not sure, is that with your students, and this is really clever, and my teacher used to do the same, is you don't teach your students the hardest stuff. You get the best points they have, and then you try to transform it and go from the best they have, not the worst.
Yeah.
Something like that. Can you explain that? Man, that's amazing. And my teacher used to do that many years ago, and he was not as good as you are, because it was another generation. And can you tell us a bit about that? Because that's really important nowadays, and I think that's a really clever way to teach youngest.
Yeah, so really working with your strengths, because, you know, especially with younger students, it's very easy for them to become discouraged. So, you know, maybe they're good at one, you know, maybe they're good at tonguing, but they're bad at slurring. Maybe they have a great sound, but they don't have a good range. Whatever it is, you take whatever their strength is, whatever they're comfortable with, that they're going to sound good, and that is what you frame everything else. And you say, okay, so your tonguing, you know, maybe your slurring is good, but your tonguing isn't. You know, it's like, okay, well, we can connect these notes slurred. Well, that means that you're doing something right with, you know, your chops, with your air. And now we're going to use that to, you know, slowly incorporate tonguing. And you incorporate it in a way where it's using their strength, but, you know, you take a slurred exercise that they love, you know, da, whatever, and then say, okay, you're going to play it slurred, and it's going to be great, da, and then, okay, now let's ta, 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 ta. You know, whatever it is, whatever the exercise, whatever their strength, I always find it's best to focus on their strength and find a way to connect it to whatever you're trying to help them help. Because otherwise, I've been in lessons before when I was younger, and, you know, throughout the years, I've taken lessons where you go and you play, and, you know, the difference between the teacher saying, oh, this was really great, you know, this part needed some help, but you were doing everything here so great, like, let's take what you were doing and try and figure out how to continue it, versus you met somebody, they say, okay, that was okay, but this spot is no good. You got to learn how to, you know, and they
feel down straight away. Yeah.
And they bring in a new concept that's unrelated to what you're familiar and comfortable with. And, you know, it's so much easier to take something they're familiar with and adjust it, just change it a little bit, so that then it makes sense to them, because everyone is coming from a different spot. So that's just always been my approach, where
Yes.
I want to make sure that I'm using the strength of my students to, you know, achieve their goals.
Well, this Max Schlossberg, his book, which is not a book, it was, as you know, but they were separate exercises that were compiled. It was exactly on this. He was using one thing to build all the others together in one different exercise, and that's amazing.
And that,
You are, say.
and that's also exactly with James Stamp.
Oh yeah, exactly.
We're
Yes.
taking Schlossberg, but then he was noticing his students were going D, O, so he goes da, and then
To avoid that,
his students weren't teleporting, they weren't, projecting where they were going. So
yes,
the same
that's really
taking something they're familiar with and adjusting it to make it work for them.
exactly, and that's awesome. Josh, let me ask you: you have a routine book, don't you?
I have a duet book.
Yes, but based on exercises.
Yeah, so the duet book, I have one here. Hold on.
You can show and tell us where we can buy it as well. So
the duet book, it's called The Versatile Trumpeter. And
that's the one, yes.
This is a book I created with Roger Ingram. And
another legend, yes.
If you search Versatile Trumpeter online, versatiletrumpeter.com, you can buy physical, and also we have a PDF.
That's good.
And the book, it has 16 duets, and it's broken into 4 sections. So there's like early jazz, swing, bebop, Latin, and then more like pop rock. And
yes.
Each section has 3 or 4 duets in that style. And they're based off of songs from that style, like St. Louis Blues or Joy Spring or Manteca or My Girl. And we take that style and we break it apart. And so each duet has a listening guide with different songs that you should listen to understand the style. And it discusses articulation and vibrato and sound. But also each section, it has an introduction where we discuss in depth the history of the style and what are common practices, and try and get our classical students to become more comfortable with playing jazz and in different styles, commercial styles. And then also for younger jazz students who are trying to improve all their different styles. But each duet, let me show you just kind of the notes. Let's say one of these duets, it's written on both pages, both lines are here, and it comes with a recording, so you can play the first part. You can play the part with a full band, with a live rhythm section. So you can hear me and Roger play it, but then you can play it on your own, or you can play with me, or you can play with Roger. So it really gives students the opportunity to be able to work in these different styles, and
yes.
to have like a list of listening and text, so that they can really feel comfortable, that they understand the style, and that they know where to go. But every single song, it has a list for listening, because it's so important. It's so important that if we're going to be playing in these different styles.
That's really clever. That's really, I had no idea how that book was built or the, and now I'm really curious, because that's really important to understand what we're gonna play.
Yeah.
And all that different styles. For example, if we go from bebop to Latin, you can't play in the same way. That's ridiculous. Josh, I will buy that book from you in the end. So can you just say the website where we can buy it again?
It's versatiletrumpeter.com.
All right, versatile. I will text it on when I repost this after the interview on YouTube and on Facebook. I will put the website there so people can buy it in PDF or physical.
Yeah.
Now, you are a Denis Wick artist, and let's go. I like to promote the brands as well, because they help the artists as you.
And Denis Wick is amazing.
Well, yeah. I used to play with the Morris Murphy, of course. I'm in England. First Morris Murphy 3C mouthpiece, amazing.
This is the Morris Murphy 4C.
All right, exactly like that one, but the 3C. Yes, amazing, amazing. And when I was in the army, I used to play the normal 3C. They are quite different, but not that much. Tell us a bit about. There is one mouthpiece here that is everyone using now, which is the Heritage.
The Heritage, yeah. I have.
You have one?
I have two somewhere. You know, I have my in my case. Hold on.
All right, we have time. No worries. No worries.
Too many things. Yes. So here, the Heritage I use, and this is the MM4C. So these two are the same. You know, the same cup, the same rim, but you see the difference in the metal.
Yeah, the thing is, so one has less body than the other, right?
Yeah.
What do you? So is brighter in that case the Heritage?
Response, and you know, I use these more for commercial, for you know, big band, for you know, bebop. This one here is the 4X. So this is like if I'm playing on the road with Under the Street Lamp. If you know I'm playing, you know, high D's, high E's, high F's, high G's. It's like this is my commercial piece. But the response, it's real nice. It's got you know a quick response. Definitely, it's got you know a little more brightness to the tone there.
Oh yes,
and you know they feel really good. They feel real responsive.
Now, I wanted to know about the feeling. Yeah, it's good to. So it's basically the same rim because people think the rim is larger because of the way it looks.
No, I think it's I really think they're identical. You know, I don't think it's larger. It's the MM4C and the MM4C. The only difference is that they cut all this metal away.
Yeah.
You know, the throat, the backbore, the cup, everything else is the same.
I see a lot of people using them here now, and I was really curious about that.
Yeah, because you know, I mean, I'll bring them both to a gig, and you know, depending on the room,
how you feel as well, isn't it?
Depending on what it is and the sound that I need, I'll choose one or the other. But it's just great to have. It's great to have that option.
Yes.
And, but you know, it's crazy. It's crazy that the outside, the difference in the metal, it actually makes a difference with how it feels.
Yes.
Even though the numbers are the same, it feels different to play because the response that you get back is a little different.
Well, yeah, we are talking there about the way of the metal, and there is a lot of discussion, and we know about boosters and caps and all that. Now I'm gonna make a basic question because I use a Denis Wick booster most of the times as well. Exactly the same, yes. Now, and I know there is a lot of rubbish, but it's important to listen from the pros and the ones that teach, not just who plays, because to be a good player is one thing. To know how to teach and pass that to others is different. And we read a lot of rubbish. That was exactly the idea of creating the group you have on Facebook, was to create a positive and healthy group for trumpeters.
Exactly.
Is the gear important for our work? Does it work or it doesn't? Of course, you said already it works and it changes some things, but we need to find it. Can you advise the youngest?
Well, yes. So gear is, you know, it's important to have good gear that fits you. But the gear isn't going to solve your problems.
Yes.
You know, all my students, and even some of my colleagues, you know, it's like, I'll tell, because sometimes I'm sure both of us know people that are constantly, every month, 2 months, they're getting a new mouthpiece.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And then they say, oh, I found it. I got this is the one. And then 3 months later, a new one. This is the one. And what they're searching for, it's not in the mouthpiece, you know, but, you know, so that's where I tell students that, you know, if there's something you're trying to fix with your playing, you know, 99% of the time, it's practice room therapy, not retail therapy. Sure, it's fun, it's exciting to buy new gear, but you know, for me, I'm a firm believer that, you know, you need to fix most of the problems we're creating. And
Yes.
there's so many good mouthpieces out there today. All these companies, they're making great mouthpieces, they're making great trumpets. So you have to be really good. You have to be playing hours and hours and hours every day until you're really going to notice a big
The
difference,
difference.
you know, between certain gear. So, you know, that's the point. Students, they don't really like that, but you know, but that's what I
They
tell them.
want, because they want quick solutions in it,
Yeah,
and that's why I'm asking this exactly.
yeah, they want.
People seek quick solutions, especially on internet now. Anyone goes and asks a question to anyone in a group, and then you have thousands of replies, and each guy says a different thing, and sometimes things that makes no sense. That's why it's important, these interviews and the reviews, the videos you are doing on your channel, which is amazing. Can you tell us your channel really quick so people can?
Yeah, so on YouTube, it's Josh Rzepka Music. And the big series that I have on trumpet mutes is called Mute Monday. And
Yes.
it's kind of a little bit of a joke because it's been a while since I posted one of those videos on a Monday. I get busy, come out on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but I like the alliteration. So Mute Monday, I'm making these videos and I'm taking different mutes and I'm discussing the companies and how they were, you know, the design, all the information, and then I play every single one, and I use the same examples every
Yes.
video. That way, you can listen and you can know, okay, you know, this one to this one to this one, how it's going to sound. Because what I found was, you know, years ago I was playing every Thursday for 2 years here in Chicago, jazz trio. Trumpet, bass, keyboard, and it was a weekly gig at like a restaurant, you know, north of town, and we had to be a little quiet. So I played the whole gig. I was playing in harmon mute, and I was looking for a better mute, and I bought another harmon mute, and I got another harmon mute.
Usual.
And I was playing into this microphone, and I'm like, okay, how do I get the sound that I want? And I just, you know, eventually I had 20 different harmon mutes. And that process, it taught me so much. And I learned, and, you know, I started collecting mutes. And previously I didn't realize all the different mutes that were available, but also I didn't realize that there was such a big difference between some of them. Because there's no music store that has all of these mutes that you can try. Every store, they have one brand or two brands or three. They don't have 10 brands, and they don't have 30 harmon mutes. So, you know, through that process, I said, okay, well, I've got all this information. It took me years to learn about the harmon mutes and to find the ones that I like. I'm going to film this now, and I'm going to put it online so that people can learn from my journey, from everything that I did. But it wasn't just with harmon mutes, then straight mutes and cut mutes and, you know, every type.
Yes.
So,
We love them.
yeah, so that was just a big thing. I saw that it was like there was no real resource for people to go on the internet to learn about mute, and they don't they have mutes, but they don't really give that much thought about which ones they have. And the trumpet, we're so lucky. There's almost no other instrument that can use something to change so much. Trombone,
No.
but not as much. But no woodwinds, you know, no flutes, clarinets. They don't have mutes. It's only a guitar that you can plug in different pedals and change your sound. So we're really lucky in the brass world and in the music world that we can create all these different sounds with different trumpet mutes. And so I'm just trying to get people to understand that, embrace it a little bit better.
Well, yeah. You did one review. Was the first one of the mutes I saw because I work with Frank and were these Uber mutes. So well, I got them all here, and it was amazing because, for example, I was curious. I know Frank's concept in terms of intonation, and he got the intonation better in most of them. But Roy, the Roy Orbison mutes and or
Yeah.
all these brands, Huber and Berg and all that, but they are really good, and they are really characteristic in the big bands in it. And you think, 3D printed mute, but then we hear you playing the same models, originals, and then Frank's one, and the difference in some of them is unbelievable, is incredible, right? And that helps, because if you want to save money and you have a guy like you, like when I want to buy a trumpet, most of the times I go to Trent's channel, and Trent is playing the same trumpet with 30 mouthpieces, and you save money, because straight away you can say, all right, this one doesn't sound as I want to.
Yeah.
And that's really important. So
and Trent is such a good player. He can make any trumpet and any mouthpiece work.
Which is a problem as well. Because then sometimes you think, the trumpet sounds really good, and if you are not a good player, you won't sound as good as him, of course. But that's important. So one of the things I admire about you, and this is where I want to ask you, we are getting to the end of this interview, we never extended too much, but I admire a lot the way you do the videos. You are playing all of them. And being behind the camera, recording, is not the same as playing live, because playing live, most of the times we fail here and there, but it's so inside the things that you don't feel it. But behind the camera on your own, anything you do wrong, everyone is here and say, the guy is out of tune, or the guy failed. But you are always spot on. And I know that that's a lot of practice, that's a lot of confidence. So you know what you are doing. How do you work that? How do you keep in shape like that to do that work?
Well, I mean, so obviously I'm practicing a lot, and I'm doing Stamp every day, and Michael Sachs book every day, and Clark and Arvin, and I love the Biche etudes, and Charlier, and I'm doing a lot of jazz, practice and scales. It's like I try, and this is going to be a video actually coming up real soon on my channel, where I'm talking about consistency and becoming a consistent.
I was about to ask you that. Yes, good.
I explained the whole journey about how I became a consistent player from when I was young, and I was, when you're young, they always feel tired, and then until I'm getting better, but I'm not getting the gigs I want, and then going on the road. And learning, when you go on the road, you really have to keep practicing still, even if you're playing shows, because you'll get road chops. And developing a routine that, for me, it works. So that's what the whole video is about. And, I think people are going to learn from that video, where they're going to see a parallel with what they do. But for me, what I play every single day, it's sound, it's articulations, it's slur, it's the range. So that's no different than what I'm playing on the examples. And when I film it, it's only me. So it's me. I have over on this side of the room, I have the backdrops, and then I put the camera here, and it's facing, and I use this microphone, and I try and set it up and stand in the same spot every single time. And then on my camera, I can see the screen. It comes around, so I can see myself.
Right. That's important as well. Yes.
Oh, here is actually my nice camera. I'll show you.
Is that microphone the Rode MT1A?
Yes.
All right. Good.
So this is the camera I use. It's a Canon R6, and the screen comes out, so then you can see yourself.
That helps.
Every single mute, when I do a new mute, I put it in, I play for a few minutes to get
The
set.
feel.
And then I always tune every single, I always make sure that I'm tuned, because, and I have to adjust the tuning slot, from one mute to the next, you have to adjust. But also when I record, sometimes as I'm going, I'm pulling the slide a little, because all the lights in the studio, it gets warm.
They warm it up.
And whenever I record, I turn off the air conditioning, I turn off the heat, so that it doesn't make any noise. So, you know, I do a lot of effort to make sure that every single clip is as consistent as it can be, and that I'm starting where the mute is in tune, as if I was going to perform with it, and then I go through my examples. You know, I crack notes or mess things up, but
Of course.
I don't play each example only once. You know, I'll do it a couple times to make sure that the lighting is good, that my framing, my posture. There's a lot of factors when you're filming. So, you know, I do all of that, and I do a couple, you know, I do each example a couple times. That way I know that I have a good take. And then, you know, then I edit it all together. But I don't do any, I don't, I don't do any processing to the audio.
Mixing. Yeah.
I don't do any processing. I don't fix. I don't you know, I don't do any of that to any of the audio that I use on those examples. All the examples, exactly what I'm playing is what is
What
what.
sounds.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. And especially now that everyone wants to do videos, is good to understand how hard it is, because people needs to value the work you do. Because
Yeah.
you are teaching, but you are recording yourself. You are everything mixing is a lot. Is a lot of time, and I know it's a lot of hours you have there, and you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because the work you do is actually free on YouTube.
Yeah, every single one of those mute videos, on average, takes me between 10 and 20 hours.
So you can imagine.
So it takes a long, you know, maybe it only takes me 30 or 40 minutes to record all the talking. And then
Yeah.
maybe 30 minutes to 2 hours to record all the playing. Because sometimes I have like 6 mutes, 8 mutes, you know, I have a lot of mutes. Or I'm doing a mute where, you know, with it's open and then closed, and so there's a lot of permutations. So sometimes I have to record, you know, for an hour or for more, and then it's hours to edit it, to upload the footage. It's all 4K, so it's very big files. But
Yes.
well, I know it's a resource that when I was younger I would have loved. So I'm happy to be able to create it and, you know, put that out there for the trumpet world.
Yes. One day, and this is how I think it. We now have the books of Stump and Cat Anderson, all that guys. So one day we will have these videos. Someone that will come after us will have your videos, and that's a big book. That's not a book like this. Will be a big book because it's all explained and people can see. I would love. Sometimes I think I would love to see Arban explaining the book.
Oh, yeah.
See a video of him saying this exercise is like this. It will be so much easier, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have that opportunity. So it's great what you are doing. Josh, we are going to the end. The only question I will ask you before the last one is Robinson remedies. Of course, we have to talk about that. We were talking about chops. I know you have been with Ken recently as well.
My pocket. It really,
Yes,
really. I keep
exactly.
it always.
Oh, so you don't think I'm joking? It saved my career, especially. How does it work? Do you feel it really makes a difference? Is it a placebo effect? Is not everyone says the same? It really works.
It really works. I mean, like, I'm a very skeptical person, and you know, before I became a Denis Wick artist, I was playing the Denis Wick, you know, mutes, the cup mute, the string mute, for 20 years. You know, always the cup mute is what I travel with. It's been the #1 cup mute that I've used. And I was at the NAMM show in Anaheim, and I wasn't looking for a new mouthpiece. I wasn't trying to get a new mouthpiece, but a lot of my friends, they're Denis Wick artists, and we were hanging out at the booth, and Mary, who's the wonderful woman who is the artist, you know, representative for Denis Wick, she lives in Chicago, and she says, "Hey, come to Chicago. You know, they have a store here where you can try out mouthpieces." She says, "Come to the Chicago place, try some mouthpieces." So I did. I came over there, and I had mine, and she was standing in the other room, not looking. And I'm playing, and these were better than what I was. They felt comfortable. They felt better, and the result I was getting was better. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play on these. And it, you know, created a relationship. So I'm skeptical. I didn't want to change a mouthpiece, but I did. And it's been a great thing. So the same thing with Robinson's Remedy is I'm saying, okay, well, I'm skeptical because I think we're going to, you know, I don't want gadgets or gimmicks. Like, I just want to play. Do it. But I started hearing about it from Roger Ingram, from all these great players who have no reason to, you know,
To lie, yeah.
lie and say it's not. And meeting Kenny and talking with him and then, you know, getting some tubes. And then, you know, I'm on the road and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to try it. And I didn't play. You know, I played the show. And then the next day I say, okay, I'm going to put a little bit, you know, right after sound check. And then a little bit before the show. And then maybe intermission, you know, or after the show. And my chops, they felt great, you know.
Yes. Fresh.
It's not that they felt bad, but they just felt great. And I've just started using it. And, you know, it's really, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if you're gonna, you don't want to wait until you feel thirsty to drink.
Yes.
Because you're already dehydrated. If you're dehydrated, then your body tells you, hey, you're thirsty.
Yeah.
And the same thing with this. You don't want to wait until you're that you're tired. But
yes.
You just use a little bit before, in the middle, you know, you put it on and it's good.
Keep it going.
You just feel fresh. And I use it when I'm practicing. If I'm having a intense practice session, I'll use it. And there's absolutely nothing negative about it. So I really believe in it. It's good stuff.
Yes, and that's really good to know. And it's all natural things, wax free as well, which is really important for musicians.
Yeah.
Josh, it was an honor to have you here, brother. You are a really humble guy, and really you have a light. You are a guy, a person with light. We can see how natural you are and how genuine. The last question I have for you, I do the same for everyone, and it has to be basically with what you do on your group. So what's your message to the young generation, people that is following the steps to be musicians, not just trumpeters? And this goes into a question, which is, some people thinks that to be a great to have a great career, we just need to play really well. But that doesn't mean everything if you are an asshole, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's the point, is being a great human being and being a great player. So what's the balance between the two to make a good career like you have now?
Yeah, that's, I mean, you really put it very well. I mean, that's so important. You know, I play with this band Under the Street Lamp and we tour. And, you know, when it's not a pandemic, then we're playing, you know, 60, 75 shows a year, and we're flying all over. And there's a core group that we travel with. But then when we go to different cities, we pick up musicians. But, you know, sometimes we have someone, they travel for a while. And the biggest thing that I've learned from this is, you know, people think that your job, especially as a touring musician, or maybe in an orchestra or whatever, like they think, okay, your job is to play the trumpet. And it is. You have to play the trumpet. You have to be able to do the job. But for, you know, the other 22 hours of the day, you're on a tour bus, you're in a plane, you're in the vans, you're in the airport. You have to hang out with people. You have to be around them. You're eating meals together. And if you're not an agreeable person, if you're not easy to get along with, to travel, if you're creating drama, if you're an asshole, it doesn't matter how good of a player you are.
That's my point.
Nobody wants to hang out with you. It doesn't matter how good of a player you are. You're not going to work.
Yes.
Maybe you'll have a great recording career because, you know, people come into the But, you know, there's been plenty of times where, you know, I've called people to play a gig and you know, there were other people I could have called, but, you know, when I look at the list, I say, okay, who are these people available? And then maybe there's 5 people that are all qualified. They're all great musicians, brilliant. and they're able to play the gig. And then it comes down to, okay, well, who do I want to hang out with?
Hang out with, exactly.
Because if they're all qualified to do the job, then it falls on other parameters. And you know, it's just being a good human, being a good person, and you know, that will really get you far in the music world. And all we have to do is look at our heroes, look at the people that everybody loves, and that are, you know, it's like they're good people. You know, you don't get to be like a big name if you're an asshole and no one wants to be around you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that, you know, and that's like in a personal level, it's in a professional level. So, you know, that's an important thing. But what I would tell students though, and young people, they're trying to do music, they want to succeed, they really want to make a go of it. Keep an open mind and be ready for any new opportunities, whether it is, you know, new opportunities digitally, if they're doing Instagram or TikTok, or, you know, just to embrace, you know, embrace music, embrace what you love, and don't only plan for what you've learned in school. Like your teachers, you know, they came from a generation before you, maybe 2 generations before you, and they grew up in a different musical landscape, in a different world. So they're teaching how to play, but they're teaching from their generation.
Yes.
And, you know, you gotta keep an open mind. And especially with music schools, it can be challenging. A lot of music schools, they want, you know, they have like this feeling of like,
It has to be like that.
Has to be proper. We're playing Bach. We're playing, you know, Tchaikovsky. Yeah. And it's like everything is on a pedestal, right? Because we're using the lens of history to look at the icons of the past. And there's been books and, you know, centuries of study that have elevated people to a certain level. However, because of that, they say, oh, you need to, if you're the best player, then you're going to get the gig. If you're the best player.
Exactly.
And then they say, you don't need to advertise. You don't need to market or to put yourself out there. You don't need to, you know, create something, because if you're good, they're going to come and find you. But you know what? The Brandenburg concertos, right? The Brandenburg 2 that every trumpet player loves. That was Bach marketing. He wrote these pieces and he gave them as a gift.
Yes, exactly.
The gift because he was trying to get a gig. He was trying to get work. I'm a firm believer that if he was alive today, he would be on Instagram, he would be on Facebook, he would be sending messages, he would be posting videos, trying to get a gig, trying to get a commission. You know, he would use every tool that he had available.
Of course.
So we got to do the same. And they may not teach you that in music schools, but as in today's world, in this digital landscape, you got to do it.
Oh yes, yes. And I will just give a quick example. Arturo Sandoval doesn't need gigs anymore. And look at him every single day recording his practice, he's composing. Man, come on. We all need it. This is a new era, and it unites us as well. It gives us the chance to do this. That's how I met you. That's how you met me. And this is so good, though. This is so good.
Yeah.
Man, Josh, thank you so much. I will just post this interview on Facebook and YouTube straight after, and I will give all the links for your pages and to buy your book, and I will do the same.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me and having me, and thank you as well for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And you know, this is how we grow the global trumpet community. So.
Exactly. This is how I learn a lot with guys like you, bro. Take care, man. Take care. Bye.